Hello, students. We have seen in the beginning morning we discussed about IC analysis, deep and surface structure, classification of morphemes is to be discussed. But here in the morning we discussed IC analysis, deep and surface structure. So IC analysis we had already discussed. That's a traditional meaning is that we have to find out, ultimately we have to find out the structure and the words, and then structuralist versus traditional grammarian, right? Traditional grammar versus structuralist. So then traditional grammar uses meaning as the primary goal of linguistics analysis. They say that meaning is very important, whereas structuralists ignored meaning and they emphasize on the language should be studied in a mechanical way. So don't find out meaning, we have to find out that's how sentence words are organized, and that's why they have given example of botanists. They count petals and sepals and something. So this way descriptive, it should be more descriptive. And then they define, and then they have given very good example of noun, that if noun is the name of the person, place, anything. So colors, the name of color blue and red is also the example, the name of the colors. So why it is not considered as noun? Whereas they talked about verb, if verb definition of verb is action, so that destruction is also an action. So why it is not verb? Then they ask about interrogative sentence, that if we ask question and then would you pass the salt, that is also question verb, but why it is considered as request? So these are the different argues which have been put here. And then they ask about definition. They say that definition is that's the IC analysis is very important, strongest method of analyzing a sentence, and aim is that the ultimately find out the words and their relationship, right? And then they talked about that's a words can be divided, and then they have divide, and they Bloomfield's analyzes, and then how the sentence can be splitted into different parts they talked about. And then terms, immediate or ultimate or larger construction, linear structure, means ultimately that's the sentence which is divided into different parts, right? So they have given examples. Now, using IC analysis to disambiguate simple sentences, so they say that we can disambiguate simple sentences very easily. And then they talked about how sentences can be disambiguated. So then they have given example, and then they say that if you see for example, if you see this one, they can fish, right? So that's a fishing, or they can fish, so that is another meaning. So this way that they force on the structure. Another example they have given, Egyptians cotton shirt, so which is the shirt which is made in Egypt, and Egyptians cotton shirt, we if we read this way, so here Egyptian cotton shirt is made up of Egyptian cotton. So this way they talked about, right? Now another example, he said he was coming today, right? Coming today, so that's a he said he was coming. This statement was given today morning or something, and he said he was coming today. He said he was coming today is another meaning, he was coming today, right? So that is he was coming, like today on the way something, so that is another meaning. So this is This is something which we discussed in the morning, that is using IC analysis to disambiguate simple sentences, right? Now, deep structure and surface structure we discussed about. So, deep structure that is, we discussed that superficially if we see that how sentence appear, so that is different meaning. Whereas deep structure, if we see that so John is easy to please and John is eager to please, meaning changes. So this is something deep and superficial structure, right? Then we discussed about different terms like semantics, means meaning. Then we discussed about um, connotation, and then collocation. Fourth we left because that is uh, very deep actually studies, and that's why we left it. But yes, we will cover later on. Now today what we are going to discuss, that's a morpheme. So morphemes traditionally, which is, that's a building block. Words are actually the building block. Words are the building block of language, and traditional grammar says that words, and modern linguistic say the words as morphemes, right? And then they have discussed about two sorts of morphemes. That's a two sorts of words or sorts of morpheme, right? So that, what are they? That's a when we look at the shape of English word. Shape means actually spelling of the English word. Then their words can be, or morphemes can be divided into two parts. First is that there are words that seem to exist as whole, like elephant, tomato, chalk, frog, obey, and marmalade, right? So these are the words, means just word. But there are words that can be broken down. Here in frog, in case of frog, tomato, chalk, what cannot be broken down, right? So that is one kind of word category. Another is that where word can be broken down into smaller pieces. How? For example, lovely. So here love and lee, right? Lovely. Number two, that's a other word is, that is coldly, cheerfully, right? Then in case of another example, that is unbreakable. Here unbreakable is break, which is divided into un and able. Un is prefix, able is suffix, right? So now on this way, words are divided. First is first category, the two sorts of words, and words are divided into two. First is free word or free morpheme, and second one is bound morpheme, right? That is bound morpheme. So please take care. Same they are discussing here, that is free morpheme or bound morpheme. Free morpheme, bound morpheme. Very important. Free morpheme means which can stand alone without any attachment, right? Without any attachment. And bound morpheme, this is bound morphemes. Bound morphemes cannot stand alone because these are the attachment, right? So please take care. That's a free morpheme or bound morpheme. Bound morpheme, right? This is free morpheme and this is bound morpheme. Okay, now different kinds of attachment. This is what is this? That's a two sorts of words, that is kinds of words, kinds of words, of words or morpheme, words or morpheme, right? But here this is first category, and according to this is the free and bound, right? Now another is different kinds of attachment. Here they are talking about attachment. So there are two kinds of attachment. Inflectional means to be added something. Derivational, here added information, right? information. And derivational, that is something which is meaning. Derive something, derivational is change the meaning. That's a change the meaning. Change the meaning. I'm writing it again. That is inflectional. Inflectional is add something or add information, right? Information. And derivational, it's change the meaning. Change the meaning. Meaning. Okay. How? Let us see. Inflectional example is, that's a Albert worked at home and illustrated books. Worked, ed, right? That's ed. And illustrated, ed here. Illustrated means tells about the time. That inflection tells us about the action of past tense. So here ed tells about the action of past tense. And books, in this sentence, three things: book, ed, that ed, and books. So that books is the number, about the number. So he add the time or number, right? So that is called inflectional. Now derivational. What is derivational? Margaret was unhappy about Scooty's disappearance, right? So that is unhappy. That is, meaning is unhappy. Here in this sentence, unhappy and disappearance, right? Illustrate the process of derivation and the attachment un and dis, right? That is called derivational morpheme. So same they are explaining here, right? And for your just knowledge, I would like to tell you that the word which ends with ity, ends with ends, ends with less, ness, right? And so many. These us, shun, us, shun, these are the suffixes, and when word adds with these kind of suffixes are called noun. Please take care, right? So these are the nouns, right? Okay. So derivational. Why? Because here word dis, but here because of ends it is noun, and disappear the verb form. But when it changes here into disappearance, so that is meaning is totally different. This is the example. Albert, sorry. This is the example of derivational. This a Margaret was unhappy. Unhappy, so happy, just opposite of unhappy. And disappearance, and disappearance. So both the things are changed here. That's a unhappy, derivational, and appearance, disappearance, meaning is changed. So derivational morphemes can change the meaning. Derivational morphemes can change the word class. So derivational morphemes can, not always, can change the meaning and class, right? So that is, please take care. Class is that from verb to ends, right? So disappear and disappearance. Disappear is verb and disappearance noun, right? Okay. Morphemes are not the same as syllable. Very important. Morphemes are not as the syllables, not as the syllables. So what are they? Although morpheme boundaries and syllable boundaries often coincide as the slowly. A morpheme is a smaller element of meaning in a word. Morpheme is a smaller element of meaning in a word. Elephant is one morpheme. Elephants is two. Neighbor is one morpheme. Neighborhood is two. How? That's a morpheme. Inflection derivation, suffix and prefix. This is the combination here. How? The book, this is the example. So their books, right, were unreadable, and readable. So this is morpheme, right? And these are the important, this is very important, that elephant is one morpheme, elephants is two morphemes, neighborhood, that's a neighborhood is also two morpheme, right? So neighbor is one morpheme, neighborhood is two morpheme, neighbor and hood. Now, so that is, please don't get confused, that's a they are not syllable. Syllable is one. A syllable is actually, I will tell you later, but syllable is, for example, that's a examination. So examination, egg, right? Examination. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This way examination has 5 syllable. So that's a first, that is one sound, clear sound. So that is called syllable. That is different chapter actually. And morphemes are like two morphemes, neighbor and hood, right? And these are the morpheme, like books, two morpheme, unreadable, three morphemes, this way. Now, now classification of morphemes, lexical and grammatical morphemes. What are the morphemes? Lexical and grammatical morphemes. Ronald W. Lenker is in his book Language and Its Structure has divided morphemes into two classes, lexical and grammatical. What are they? Lexical morpheme. Lexical morphemes are forms like boy, write, pen. Lexical morphemes are noun, adjective, adverbs, right? So lexical morphemes are forms like boy, write, whereas grammatical morphemes are forms like some with n. Grammatical morphemes are elements like preposition, articles, conjunctions, forms indicating number, gender, tense. So please take care. Like here, lexical and grammatical. So there is actually words is lexical, that is lexical, and grammatical is rules. Grammatical is rules. So please take care. Words and rules, right? How? Yeah, there are two types. Please take care. Lexical and grammatical. Okay. Now, lexical morphemes, words, please take care in mind, keep in mind that's a lexical morphemes are forms like, that's a forms like boy, pen, this one. And lexical morphemes are noun, adjective, adverb. Whereas grammatical morphemes are forms like, this is also forms, but forms like boy, pen, this, and this is some with n, that is grammatical, because where to use some, where to use with, preposition, where to use an article, right? But here just direct noun, means name, right? So that is boy, write, pen, for which words are made. But they talk about in grammatical morpheme, they talk about grammar. For example, that's a morphemes are elements like preposition, articles, conjunctions, forms indicating number, gender, and tense. Very clear. In other words, we can say that lexical morphemes are words which are used as words, whereas grammatical morphemes are used as grammar, right? For use the purpose of grammar, words which are used for the purpose of grammar is grammatical morphemes, and words which are used for building block language, like words are building blocks, but that what main verbs, words, important words which are used, that is lexical morpheme. Now, they have more or less independent meaning, so that what they have, this is lexical. They means lexical, right? Lexical. So that is, they have more or less independent meaning, so that one or a series of lexical forms in isolation can be firmly meaningful. So you just have to remember they have more or less independent meaning, right? Okay. However, the distinction between lexical and grammatical morphemes is artificial and inadequate. Hood is lexical morpheme. In she wears a hood, but not in childhood. That is again contradiction. Hood and childhood. So hood is, that's a wearing, but in childhood meaning of hood is different. So that not clear demarcation between lexical morpheme and grammatical morpheme. Even small grammatical morphemes such as ly in rapidly and in teacher have definite semantic content. How? Teacher, er, right? So that what they are, morphemes such as ly in rapidly and the teacher in er, right? In teacher have definite semantic content, hence the necessary of more rationalistic division of morpheme. Now, free, leave it, that's a very deep, right? Now, free morphemes and bound morphemes. Morphemes are the minimum grammatical forms of a language. Some of them can occur alone, others cannot. Forms which do not occur alone are bound morpheme. Very important. Forms which do not occur alone, which cannot stand alone, which do not have uh, independent meaning, are called bound morpheme. Whereas free morpheme can cat, rat, go, black, these can stand alone, right? And that is why those which occur alone, free morpheme, which occur alone, free, that is bound and that is free morpheme. Okay. Now, free morphemes can go, right? Bound morphemes, ness, very simple. Free morpheme, bound morpheme. Cat, rat, go, black, ness, less, these are, right? Then happy, unhappy, that's a root and stem. Please take care. Happy, unhappy, right? So that's a free form, is, that's a un is free form. Love and loves, so s is free forms. So that is un, right? Then s, these are bound morphemes. Now, what's the root? Roots. Okay, roots. The root morpheme is that part of word which is left when all the affixes have been removed. Root morpheme. For example, unbreakable. Here place is not sufficient, so I am writing this way. Unbreakable. Unbreakable. Unbreakable, right? Here that can be removed. Unbreakable. So that is unbreakable, right? So here what they are saying, first condition, the root morpheme is that part of word which is left when all the affixes have been removed. If you remove this one and this one, and what is left part, this one, this is left when, so this is root morpheme, this is root morpheme. Please take care. Okay. Now, root morphemes may be bound or free. So root morphemes may be bound or free. Here, sorry, I'm very sorry. Actually, root morpheme is what I'm telling you. Same with the same example. I'm telling you. Wait a minute. I gave example of unbreakable, right? So root morpheme is this one. this one and this one. First condition, root morpheme is the part of word which is left when all affixes have been removed. This affix is suffix and prefix. So when affix means when which is left, right? So all unbreakable, all these are root morphemes, example of root morphemes, because all are removed but all are separated. Root morphemes may be bound or free. These are bound, this one is bound, which one? This one is bound and this one is bound, and this one is free, right? So please take care, this one is free, right? Okay, now root morpheme is potentially unlimited in language because language goes on creating new words or borrowing loan words from other languages. This will be useful to you, that root morphemes is potentially unlimited because in language, because language goes on creating new words. So language is not static. Every day new word is, it is said that every 10 or 12, I'm not very much sure, but new word is coined, right? So that is why that is googling, that's a new word we can say after technology, right? So that is language, that is why it is, language is potentially unlimited, right? Very every day, every after some time new word is being coined, right? And that is why it's going on creating new words or borrowing loan words, because like barat is the part of English dictionary. So this way every day we borrow some words, and then loan words are there. So this way languages, when we I am going to make the video on history of English language, where we will read that the language is mixed of so many Latin, French and other languages also mix in English language, and that is why root morphemes are potentially unlimited. Okay, now the last is the criterion of determining of root is its individuality into constituent morphemes by matching its parts with the parts of other words in the language. The criterion of determining the root is its individuality, right, into constituent morphemes by matching its parts with parts of other words in the language. So that is something, right? Now stem, the form to which an affix is attached is called stem. That is affix is suffix and affix is prefix. Prefix and suffix is called affix, right? Okay, so now the form to which an affix is attached is called stem. So unhappy, un and happy, natural, nature is a stem, and that's a ul is affix, right? So please take care. Un affix, right? And happy is a stem. Similarly, nature is affix, stem, and ul is stem. Affix. Sorry. Now, unhappy, un is affix, and happy is stem. Nature is stem, and ul is affix, right? Now, affixes. In a word like unfaithful, faith is the root, and the un and full are affixes. Un is prefix, whereas full is the suffix. This is you are with this you are familiar, right? Now all affixes are bound morpheme. Please read it carefully. All affixes are bound because they separately they don't have any meaning, for they cannot occur alone. A word which consists of only one free root morpheme is called monomorphemic, right? Cat, rat, this is monomorphemic, right? So that is called monomorphemic. The word containing more than one root are called polymorphemic. That is polymorphemic. So that is monomorphemic and polymorphemic. Okay. So aircraft, that's a compound word, aircraft, right? Now, they can co-occur with or without affixes. They are called compound words, right? I told you that's a compound word. They can co-occur with or without affixes are called compound words. Now, roots and affixes may be of any structure and length, though affixes generally tend to be shorter than roots. Important. Affixes generally tend to be shorter than roots. Able, generally these are the shorter than roots. Root is example for school, right? School. Okay, so this is something. Now, the affixes are the recurrent formative morpheme of words other than roots. The affixes are the recurrent. The affixes is the recurrent formative morpheme of words other than roots. So that is formative morpheme of words other than roots. So they have affixes have formative morpheme, means they will form something than roots. For example, if you say that predictable, right? Predictable. So here predict and then able. So then that's a affix. It's a formative morpheme other than roots. So root is predict and predictable, which can be predictor. So that is other than root, means meaning will be changed, right? Now, affixes are of three types: prefix, infix, suffix. Affixes which are attached to the beginning of the stem are called prefixes. Example: unhappy, irregular. Affixes which are attached at the end are called suffix. You are well familiar: going, goodness, beliefs, all, right? But there are also affixes which are inserted in the middle of the stem, such as called infixes. We cannot give any example in English for infix. Please take care. We cannot have any example in English of infixes. That is, we don't have. In other words, might be affixes are there, infixes are there, right? So that is, infixes are not found in English language. Please take care, right? Now, weak root, rup and imperative infixes is M. Okay. Very Latin, actually. Rump in red Latin. Forgive, don't read much, that is not useful to you. Now moving to next, inflectional and derivational affixes. Both inflection and derivational morphemes are suffixes. Please keep in mind, both inflectional and derivational morphemes are suffixes, right? These are the suffixes. Okay, so now they are bound morphemes. These are the suffixes. Inflectional and derivational means always add after the words, right? So these are the suffixes. And then bound morpheme, of course, bound morpheme following a root. Inflectional and derivational morphemes are therefore the subcategories of suffixes. So please take care. Inflection and derivational are subcategories of suffixes. but they differ from each other. Of course, we have studied inflectional affixes. Inflectionals change the form of the word. So they change the form of the word, right? Change the form of the word, right? Form of the word. Walk, walks, walked, walking are different forms of the same word, right? And therefore sed, ing are inflectional affixes, and the inflectional change made in the form of word serve to indicate grammatical relations such as number gender, right? When number gender tenses change, for example, in walked, the inflection walked indicates tense, believe, believed, right? And something, a representative sample of inflectional affixes in English are. So that is verb, when verb change, walked, walking, walks, noun, boys, boys, adjective, brighter, brightest. In English, inflectional affixes are usually suffixes. Derivational affixes, derivation is a process of word formation, right? That is the process of word formation. Derivational affixes create new words, of course. Kind and kindly are different words, and ly is a derivational affix. Happy and unhappy are different words, and un is a derivational affix. Right? Believe and disbelieve are different words. Dis is a derivational affix. So derivational affixes are different. Okay. So now derivational affix may be either prefixes or suffixes. Right? So these are the description here given. I am reading for you. Inflectional affixes, inflectional change the form of word, inflectionals change the form of word, right? And derivational is a process of word formation where in new words are formed, right? Then walk, walks, walked, the inflectional changes shows different form of the same word, showing the different grammatical relations. And happy and happy are the two different words. Ly is the derivational suffix. In English, inflectional and affixes are usually suffixes, and inflection suffixes occurred at end position in the form is possible. Develops. Derivational affixes may be either prefixes or suffixes, right? It may be either prefixes or suffixes, then suffixes which may be followed by other suffixes. Development, development, root word is develop, right? So this here in detail. Okay, I'm reading because that's the last part of this file, so I'm reading for you. Wait a minute. Class maintaining and class changing derivational suffixes. For example, derivational suffixes can be subclassified into two types: class changing derivational suffixes and class maintaining derivational suffixes, which produce derived form of same class as underlying form. They do not change the class of part of speech. Example, boyhood, right? Boyhood, childhood, allhood, right? Hood, ship are class maintaining derivational suffixes. In these examples, they produce noun out of nouns. Other suffixation means noun from noun, noun from noun. Now, class changing derivational are those they produce a derived form of another class. In teacher, boyish, development, national, ish meant, al are class changing derivational suffixes. In teacher, a subject teach has become a noun after suffixes er. So actually teach is a verb, and teacher is a noun form, right? So this is the difference. They change. Some derivational affixes like ly, ness change the class part of speech. They becomes noun form. They are called class changing derivations, right? Good adjective and goodness noun. This is the example, you just keep in mind. Some derivational affixes like hood, ship, etc. do not bring about any change or class. They are called class maintaining because they maintain the class. Likely, unlikely, manhood. So that's a likely and unlikely, both are adjective, and adjective, and man and manhood, it's the noun form, right? Last. Now, bound base. Bound bases are those morphemes which serve as roots of derivational forms but which never appear as free forms. Clude is the bound base, and conclude, preclude, include, exclude. Similarly, sieve, receive, perceive. But bound bases are those morphemes which serve as root for derivational forms but which cannot be separated from the word, because both the words, if you say per then sieve, so no meaning of separate word. So this is something about very detailed study of IC analysis. Okay, so thank you so much. God bless you.